the hospitals and see what they would be willing to do for teachers in particular, because if we're going to be opening, you know, schools and wanting our teachers to get into the classroom and feel safe, that's just one way. So I am working on that. None of them are solid. They are also, you know, in the works. I see there, Denise put something else about Commissioner Beamfer. He's also trying to, when teachers are on the list, he's trying to get where they would be able, the health department would come actually out to the schools and offer those vaccinations for teachers and staff at the school site. But that really is for when teachers get on the list. So we know teachers are not on the list, so I'm trying to find out how we work around that to get as many teachers vaccinated as possible. So the main thing is, number one, if you're 65 or over, we're working on doing something specifically for you. And I did hear today that if you reached out to your own physician and asked them about the hospital they're affiliated with, maybe there was a way that they could help you get an appointment. So that would be one of the things. Yeah, Baptist Hospital has the availability, but they do not have any appointments available. So that's the concern, you know, instead of just having you hodgepodge try, I'm trying to find one place that's willing to do it specifically for teachers. So really tonight, my whole goal is just to hear what your concerns are and see what it is that we can do to our best to try to alleviate that based on the situation that we're in right now. So I would say I will try to answer questions, but as John mentioned, you know, there's more than one school board member here. So I don't know how detailed and I may not know the answer. So really it is just the information gathering for us. I see that you're saying, you know, you have calls for action. So that's what I want to hear is, what is your call? What do you want to see us doing differently, and how do we make that work? So that's really my goal for this evening, for as long as I can stay. As John mentioned, I may have to sneak out early, but thank you again for coming. It is really important. It's important to keep our students and teachers safe and figure out how it is that we do that in the space that we're in now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hickson, and thank you for agreeing to being here today. I wanted to give more context before we jump into Ms. Leonardi. So I see a lot of people now joining. We have 60 participants and more in the waiting room. But just to give you an overall of what happened during the weekend. First, before the weekend, we heard from the administrators that teachers with pre-existing conditions, all of them, more than 1,700 of them, not all of them will be able to stay home. And only 600 out of that total was actually given permission to stay at home and teach, putting at risk almost 1,000 teachers with pre-existing conditions. That kind of was a moment in which the community started to ask, why are we doing this? I have family members that are teachers. I have my own parents or my own, you know, loved ones that are going to risk their lives to go and teach. It was enough to ask them, started in March, to transition without getting paid for training and etc. Many of you know what happened. Then after that, during the weekend, now we receive an email from principals saying that there will be more flexible with CDC guidelines, specifically about physical distancing with our kids if they will have more kids than what they were expecting. And that really was the boiling point, besides a video that we received from the superintendent and the chairman of the board, Ms. Oswood, mentioning that we needed to rally to go back to school. Actually, the video is called Bringing Our Students Back. And so that sent a lot of mixed messages. For you to know, and with this, I'm gonna transition to Ms. Leonardi, it's that we have only 20% of capacity in our schools. The projection per my call with the superintendent today is that we will get up to 35% by Wednesday. That is just based on their numbers at the KCW building and their research and their surveys. We are not experts here in the community. We're just gathering information as the board members. So this is the context. This is why this morning we all woke up and put posts on Facebook and Twitter, on Instagram. And we got together, and this is the power of the people. So I'm really happy to see you all here. I'm going to transition to Ms. Leonardi. I also want to announce that the president of our Broward Teachers Union is here. Welcome, Ms. Anna Fusco. She's going to have also a space where we're going to listen from her. But now I'm going to transition to Ms. Leonardi. So welcome, Ms. Leonardi, and thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me, and thank you for organizing this. I appreciate how much you care about our educators and our students and, you know, everyone who works in our schools, and I really appreciate your concern. I was very concerned and worried last month, as well as today, when there was talk about relaxing social distancing in schools. You know, we're heading into a peak and we're dealing with this new variant of the virus. And, you know, I continue to speak up about this issue. You know, I think it's much more powerful when you all speak up, when you all send your emails, when you come to school board meetings and submit public comment. So I'm urging you to do that, to submit public comment for next week's regular school board meeting. And there are two ways to do that. You can come to Casey Wright, and you can also submit one safely online. So I'm going to put the email address for that. But again, I very much appreciate how many people are on this call, how you guys all organized so quickly in one day. And I thank you for your advocacy for our school personnel. I'm also going to put my email address and phone number in the chat in case you ever need to reach out.
Thank you, Ms. Leonardi. And I know, Ms. Rupert, I know you for a long time, and I'm really nice to see you, and your hair looks amazing. We're gonna play the video of one of our parents before we transition to you, Ms. Rupert. Just because,
Perfect.
I know Lindsay was like excited about seeing her video, and I couldn't really find it when I had it. So I'm gonna play her video, and then we will come back.
Thank you.
So right now, my main concern as a Broward County Public parent is that here in Florida, we're seeing a record number of COVID cases nearly every day. We're seeing 20,000 COVID cases a day. And at the same time, we're getting emails from Superintendent Runcie and Broward County Public Schools letting us know that it's safe to send our kids back into the classroom and that it's important that our kids are back into the classroom. And this preoccupied tone about test scores and grades. At the same time, we're getting COVID notifications for positive cases and emails from our children's principals saying that due to this influx of students returning back to the campus, they now have to relax physical distancing measures. None of it makes sense and none of it is acceptable. And there's people's lives and health on the line. And we have to, as parents, stand up for this and stand up for our educators and our children because enough is enough. So right now, my main concern is
All right, and with that, I'm gonna transition to Ms. Rupert.
I'm sorry, I thought she was still speaking.
I wanted to play it twice.
Oh, okay.
Excited,
Sorry. I want to thank everybody for showing up this evening. It's extremely important. Even though I've become a board member, I'm still an advocate at heart, a teacher, and a mom of 3 kids who I was blessed with. We adopted our 3 kids and they were all under the ESC umbrella. So I understand struggle when it comes to making sure that your children are in the right place with the right curriculum and the right to be healthy and safe in their environment. And that goes for, besides our students, it also goes for our employees as well. And any opportunity that I have to join together. I never miss the chance to stand side by side with our employees, our parents, and our students and community to make sure that we're doing the right thing and to be open for ideas, which I certainly am. I cannot comment on anything that Ms. Leonardi or Ms. Hickson has said, but I can tell you that as an individual board member, I have been pushing to get our teachers categorized as first responders, or at least get on the list as much as they possibly can, And that included writing a short little blip in the Sun Sentinel this weekend, asking for us to be able to get to that aspect of vaccinations earlier, because I believe it's all a foundation. I believe we should not relax social distancing. We need to make sure that we're all wearing our masks, but also to make available to our community in a much better pace than what we're doing, vaccines. So that is on the sunsentinel.com/100. If anybody wants to go and see what I'd written about the vaccinations. I was gonna say something, but I can't say anything about Ms. Hickson, but I can tell you I've had conversations with the Cleveland Clinic as a patient, as a board member, to see how it is possible to organize and get our community a little bit faster to those vaccines. I'm really here to listen, and my door is always open. I read all my emails, phone calls, etc. And I will leave my information in the chat box, and just know in my heart, I'm with you, and this really weighs heavily on my mind day and night. And besides turning gray, we're now calling it the COVID platinum. So let's just say I stay awake at nighttime worrying about this stuff. And I think together we can make it happen. And I'm really looking forward to your calls to action and see how I can help with that situation and truly make Broward schools safe and welcome for everybody. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Ms. Rupert. And we know about your advocacy and your leadership in the board since you joined many years ago. So, so how are we going to do this? I know everyone is eager to speak. I know everyone wants to lay down their sentiments about what's happening, and we all about that tonight. This might take an hour. This might take 2 hours. We want to go through everyone's comments. This being recorded, so we're going to make sure that after tonight, and my wife is going to kill me, but to make sure that we address all this also in a formal email like we did today. We posted on social media that we sent a letter to all the board members and the superintendent about this meeting, invite them openly to attend. The only 3 board members that accepted the invitation was the one that you just heard from. And I had a personal call with the superintendent, not really solving the issue, but really kind of like, my message was, I'm privileged enough for you to call me, but I want you to talk to everyone else, not just to me. So hopefully he gets to address this down the road, your concerns after we gather them tonight. So there's 2 rules. One, it's first, raise your hand, please. That's important as part of the rules that we put at the beginning. You are only gonna have, and I feel horrible saying this, but you're only gonna have 2 minutes or 3 minutes actually to raise your concern. If you have a really, long, lengthy thing that you want to set, the best way to do that, I assure you, it's sending an email to the board and to the superintendent and explaining with numbers and data. Here, we're trying to explain as much as possible with, with what we have. So that is the first thing that we're going to do. Keep it to 3 minutes, raise your hand. But before we do that, of course, we want to hear from our president at the Broward Teachers Union, Ms. Anna Fusco, and welcome Ms. Anna Fusco here to our meeting. We have the time for you guys, meaning the superintendent, the school board members and yourself to less than 5 minutes. We want to hear your thoughts and how you feel about the whole situation at the school, at the Broward County School Public, at BCPS. And thank you for being here tonight.
Hi guys, how you doing? So real quick, thank you for calling this, John. And I hope everybody's been watching and seeing the call of action that the Broward Teachers Union has been doing for all of our educators and support staff, that Robert Runcie and Alan Strauss just basically, as I'm saying it clear as a bell, pulled the rug out from under our 1,600 that were accommodated that have some serious health conditions. It's funny that you speak of Cleveland Clinic. We have a teacher over there right now that was stricken with COVID Christmas evening, and she hasn't been able to get out, and she took a turn for the worse yesterday. Her lungs have filled up with blood clots. And her daughter called me last week saying that her principal called her and said, you know, we're checking on mom, seeing how she's doing, but I have to just let you know that I was told that her accommodation to work remote is over, and she needs to let me know, is she going to report back to work on January 11th, which would be today, or take a leave. She tried the first 3 days that school got back in the session in January to teach remotely from her hospital bed, ICU on oxygen. And then Thursday and Friday, she started taking a turn for the worse. So I helped her to figure out how to get the COVID leave. Her principal never extended that offer to even help. So these are the things the obstacles that we run into that people don't realize. When some of you, I see a lot of parents on here, and I've gotten to know a lot of you that, you know, at first you weren't quite sure where our positions are, that those are some of the things that drives me to be an advocate for people that are really unable to speak and get the right answers to, you know, this teacher wanted to teach, but then she got stricken with COVID, and now I just pray that she doesn't have to fight for her life, that she can get through the oxygen problem and the blood clots in her lungs and not have to worry about losing her job or not having the benefits to pay for her time in the hospital after the COVID leave runs out. Certain things like that. So Superintendent Runcie has shut all communication down with us educators. He refuses to speak. He refuses to have a professional conversation. I think all of us need to agree that we can all at times banter and not agree on certain things and agree to disagree. But when it comes to doing something for the good of all, you have to put things aside and be able to communicate. And our school district has decided not to communicate with us, except for a few board members that are in communication, which is Debbie Hickson, Sarah Leonardi, Lori A., who else? Nora Rubert. We've talked with some of the other ones. Anne Murray did give us some good conversation. She believed that those teachers should be able to work remote, but I need 5 board members to direct Robert Runcie to say, make it work, figure it out. And I see we got some students on here, Rocco, who speaks very well at the board meetings on behalf of the students and also for the educators. And I see Raymond is on. I know Andrew Grubb is on. I don't know if he's still here, but those are 3 young men, top young men that not only speak very strongly and with great advocacy for their students, they have taken a position where they're speaking strong for their teachers, because parents, if anything, when there's sometimes you might disagree, you have to admit that you know the teachers fall in love with their students and care for them on so many levels, and the students fall for us. I mean, I've been an educator for 30 years. I know I don't look it, but I've been this long. But I'm just messing with you guys. I'm just saying that there's nothing I wouldn't have done for a student, and I will continue to do that. When we're advocating for teachers to have great working conditions, we're advocating for your children to be in great work conditions. If I tell you a school I went to today and I saw the deplorable conditions, they brought some of our teachers in rat poop, mold dripping from the side of the building in their classrooms. I mean, these are things that are disheartening, that they're telling the teachers, your rooms are ready to come back into today. If it's not ready for the teacher, how's it ready for your children? So these are some things that we're asking you guys to come together. This isn't about our teachers want to sit home and do nothing. Our teachers have been working hard and strong. And this remote learning has kept our students moving and motivated. Has some of our students had some setbacks? Absolutely, but not just because of the education component, but because of various components. And I've also asked our superintendent if he can get special task force to get out there and help those groups of students besides our social workers. If you're not familiar with them, we only have about 120 social workers that services 270,000 students. That's not enough. We need groups out there that are going out there, finding where these students are, what's going on, and let's do some resources to get them back into school, whether it's on the computer or in the physical building, but it has to be done right, and it has to be done with total safety. So those are the things that we're advocating for. It's not about to banter and be in combat with the superintendent and the HR chief and some of our other chiefs. It's about really what's right. And People have a right to have value and dignity. And right now, Robert Runcie, without the plan of knowing how many students are back and only predicting about 35%, there's no prediction there, John. They have the survey results. That's all that's about coming back. And to sit there and say that we need 100% of our teachers back, what about the students that are really, truly staying home, working remote? They deserve to have a teacher full-time dedicated to them, like how we are having these conversations remote. It works. It's not foolproof, but it's something that is still a work in progress. And God willing, this vaccine kicks in, everybody will be able to be back. And contract tracing is not there with Fidelity. That's another conversation, but we all would appreciate, and we value our parents and our students, and to know that you guys are advocating for right. That is what's important. And if anything, that will instill into our students great quality and good traits and integrity and decency. And that in itself is a separate type of education. I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. I'm listening and taking notes to everything that you guys need some answers on. And if I have the answer, John, if you would, I'll raise my hand and I'll give you a right answer. And if anybody knows that, if I don't have the answer, I don't believe in just giving an answer just to give it, just to move someone on our way, like our superintendent likes to do. Rocco sits all day, every meeting in those board meetings. And let me tell you, him and his partner, Gianna, right? That's her name, Rocco. They have patience like no other. And I've seen a little bit of a decrease in the respect that they started giving them, but when those two start speaking up and really demanding some value to their student population, some of those board members are starting to get flippant on them. So I encourage everybody to pay attention to the board meetings, which by the way are now only once a month instead of twice a month. They don't want community involvement. They don't want speakers speaking. They are really, they've come to the conclusion to block it because the Jeff Moquins and the Alan Strausses and the Judy Martes and the Maurice Woods have decided that it's too much work for the staff, when really the people that are doing the work at the board meetings are our elected officials, which were their constituents, and they should be there for us. And if they can't get things done and move our superintendent to do the right thing, we're in trouble. So I'm going to pass it back over to you, John. I thank you for your time, and let's see what we got rolling here. And if we could keep this momentum going, you know, I predict if we have another meeting, we'll have double, triple, if we all continue to work together and get the word of mouth out there. Thank you, guys.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fusco. Thank you for all your work and your advocacy. I see you I don't go to the meetings. You have a little one here and I have to stay home. And I learn about watching this on TV or on a computer when I used to work at the school board. So I decided to not go to that and sit down for hours, but I always see the passion that everyone brings into the meetings, and especially your members and yourself. So thank you for your leadership. Now what we're going to do, so we all agree, we have some rules. If you just joined, it's all about respect, listening, moving forward, not thinking about what we didn't do in the past, but just moving forward with action items. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the floor. Please raise your hand. I have 3 people that raise their hand. I'm going to transition the mic, open the mic for them. And if you we want to keep having this, you know, this feedback, these questions, whatever you want to bring into the floor. So we have either the school board members or any other person from the community, or either Ms. Ana Fusco to address any of your questions or concerns. Then if we don't have a lot of those comments, what we're going to do is that we're going to break into breakout rooms. We're going to go and have group conversations about what is happening, and we're going to ask one person from that group to come back and report to the main group. That is going to happen if we don't have enough of people, because I don't know, people maybe don't want to talk in a large group, but more in an intimate group. So we're going to have that option as well. So with that, I'm going to remind you what are the rules. You're going to have 3 minutes to speak. I'm not going to stop you talking because I'm not the principal of your school, your teacher, or your mom, or whatever. I'm just a facilitator here. You will see your clock on the top right-hand side of your computer or in your phone. Just make sure that you stick to the 3 minutes, and then we will transition to the next person. With that, I'm going to give the mic to Rocco Diaz, a student here in this meeting. Rocco.
Hi, I'm going to be brief here. My name is Rocco Diaz. I am the alternate student advisor to the school board. So if you're a parent on this call, I represent your child. And if you're a student, I represent you. And some of the powers I have as student advisor are although I don't have the power to introduce legislation or vote on that legislation, I do have the same speaking privileges at school board meetings that any school board member does. And I also have expedient access to information from staff. These are things that I really want to use to your advantage. So if you have any questions for me that I can maybe take to the school board, I'm going to put my email addresses in the chat. That's my student advisor email and my personal email. You can use either. And yeah, even though as a student advisor, my job description isn't to represent teachers, I still think that in times like these, it's important to show solidarity with teachers. And it's not just me who thinks that. I've been encouraged to do so by multiple students, including Raymond, who you're about to hear speak, and countless others at my school. We've watched our teachers be mistreated, and we're very involved in this fight.
Awesome, Rocco, and thank you for all you do. We see you every meeting making comments and adding value to the conversation. Now we have Raymond Adderley. Bienvenido, Raymond, and another student from Broward County Public Schools.
Muchísimas gracias, John, and good evening, everybody. And thank you for having this platform. It means a lot that so many people are willing to come together in a platform like this to speak about the issues that affect so many people. I was going to say something completely different, but then President Fusco said something that really got my blood boiling. It's the fact that there are teachers that are literally fighting for their lives in hospital beds, and this school board is reluctant to get those exact same teachers back. I want to shift the conversation just a little bit to the fact that I am a student, and like Rocco, I do represent your children as well. I'm a class president at Fort Lauderdale High School and a representative to 2 different school board committees by the appointment of Rocco and Gianna as a student representative to the different committees that I serve on. I have been working the last few weeks to ensure fairness and equity for your students. I have been working for the last few weeks to ensure fairness and equity for teachers and for more transparency to parents. I feel that it's completely necessary and appropriate that teachers, parents, and students, who are the cornerstone of education, are all wrapped in the loop. And so, quite frankly, this whole issue of teachers being forced back to the classroom is disgusting. The fact that the superintendent and the staff believe that the school board, the school buildings are not sources of transmission, I believe is a pretense of naive optimism. And I will be very sharp with the things that I say, because I believe that people in power that we have all entrusted need to be held accountable to the highest standard, because they're serving each and every one of us. My call to action is very simple, that each and every one of us, in the reach that we have, go out and we speak to people like Superintendent Runcie. We email him, we email his secretary, we show up to KCW, and we speak on behalf of the people that we represent, like people like Rocco do, President Fusco do, people like John, and the school board members who dare to care and who are not afraid to be shut out by this school board and by other members and by the superintendent and his staff. I don't want to be a complainer, but I want to be a policymaker. I want to be a solution maker. And the only solution that we have within our scope here is that we continue to advocate for each student, every child, every parent, every single teacher. We can't do enough, but we can do everything we can do to ensure that those people are represented fairly. I want to leave you with this. I've grown close connections with my teachers, and of the 8 teachers that I have this year, 2 of them have resigned from their jobs because they had to make the choice between their lives and their livelihood. No teacher, no student, and no parent should ever be put in that predicament by a teacher or anyone for that matter. And I want to say this, teachers' rights are basic human rights. And Ms. Fusco said it best. There are schools in this district that have mold dripping off the walls caving in classrooms. And trust me, when she says that, it's not hyperbole. I have seen it with my own eyes. and my mother is a teacher. And so this is very concerning to me. And what concerns me, I will ensure to represent my people, which every single one of you are, including the board members who are here that dare to care. And thank you for being here tonight. And lastly, I'll say this. Ms. Fusco says this, and I say it too. When our teachers suffer, when our administrators suffer, our students suffer. And that's what bothers me. So the call to action, hold, Runcie, Superintendent Runcie, and board members who are complacent with the naive optimism that Mr. Runcie has, hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. And when you listen to Raymond, I get to think their future is bright with incredible people like Raymond and Rocco that really understand what is happening because they see it every day in their schools. So thank you for your words. We're gonna move into Marianne Lamb. If you could unmute yourself.
Good evening, how are you?
Hello, if you could introduce yourself and then make your comment or you ask your question.
Okay, my name is Marianne Lamb. I'm a teacher at Gulfstream Academy in Helendale Beach. And my comment is really directed toward the survey. The survey that was taken for school to resume in October defaulted so that if you did not answer the survey, this is for our students, for our parents, they would remain home. However, with the second survey, the most recent, the default is for those who do not answer the survey are assumed to return back to school. So, you know, it's devised in order to flood the school with students. And it's almost deceptively devised that way. And I take issue with the way in which they are operating. They learned from the first survey that many parents didn't bother to answer. So they then turned it around and flipped the script so that now we have schools where they're going to be inundated with more students than they should have. And so I take issue with the deceptive nature in which it was presented. And I just want to throw it out there as food for thought.
Definitely, and thank you for your comments. I have to add to that it is disrespectful to see how we receive I don't know how many questions, I think it was 10 questions as parents, and our teachers got one option or two options, not even thinking about their accommodations, their health, their family structure, their income, many things. So thank you, Marianne, for sharing your thoughts. I'm gonna give the mic to Lindsay. Thank you. I'm gonna give the mic to Lindsay.
Hi, okay, I had a couple things to add. I already know that I had my video. Something we keep hearing about is mental health. As a parent, I have a gifted third grader, and I have an ESE student in the ESE speech pre-K program. I understand that I have one that's doing just fine and one that might be behind where she should be or not making the progress that maybe she would if she was in person. But I think we need to just take a minute and we need to think that this is a pandemic. Right now, we're all surviving a global pandemic. And instead of the focus being on grades and test scores and these preconceived notions of where our children should be, that maybe we can just lower these expectations just a little bit and focus on the long term here, which is surviving and health and children who have their parents, and that goes for teachers as well. And I think, you know, I'm not a teacher, I'm just a parent. I am a parent who has lost a child. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. But I think that when our teachers are in those classrooms, when there's a COVID positive case and they just wait, and, you know, there's a student in your class who's positive, and there's a student in your child's class who's positive, and waiting to see, you know, like a minefield. And what is that for mental health? And to give our teachers that choice, you know, lose your job, lose your health, lose your life. We can't really talk about being best for mental health when we don't even consider our teachers as people. So I think that that is something that we need to consider as well. And and that, you know, bridges can be gapped or gaps can be bridged, said that backwards. And that we can all just catch up eventually, but you can't get your life, you can't get your health back. And I think the lack of empathy that we're seeing here from Superintendent Runcie and some of the board members is alarming to me as a parent. I think that I would have a lot more respect for them if they were here advocating for safety. And if we're really all about mental health, then let's focus on our teachers, because I can't imagine what living this way is doing to them. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Fusco, do you want to address or comment from the comments before?
Well, I wanted to ask you, John, if you're able to give us some insight. I saw that you had asked, invited Mr. Runcie to join us. Did he give a reason or an answer that he didn't want to join us? I think with 72 participants right here, this is one of the biggest group of people that I've seen show up in a long time, when him or his or some of his other board members speaking together that have invited people, that this would be an opportunity to hear from parents and community people, and he's not here. Did he give you a reason why he wouldn't be here? And did you have an opportunity to talk to him to get any of your questions answered?
Yeah, I'm going to open this because I think that it's fair with everyone. And thank you for the question, Ms. Fusco. And then I'm going to transition to Tracy, and then Catherine, just, you know, hang there. I'm going to move into you. Many of you don't know, but I used to work at the school board. I worked there for around 7 months when I moved from New York here to South Florida. And I had a relationship with Ms. Rupert and other board members. I reported directly to the superintendent, and I got to meet, not to really have a relationship with the school board members and staff. So he, of course, I guess, got my email this morning. I drafted an email letter to all the school board members and to the superintendent, inviting them to come, really making sure that everyone in that email understood the importance of what was happening in the community, how people were really upset and concerned about what was happening, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. And just so I could address your question, Ms. Fusco, there was a couple of things that we have seen from the superintendent in our call. He gave me a call right maybe an hour after I sent that email, and he really told me that there was a lot of misinformation out there, and that there is science that proves the point, which we all have heard from many people at the school district, saying that the schools are not, you know, massive spread places for the COVID-19 virus. And then there's another report that came out this morning saying that that is not right, but we're not going to get into that. I was able to listen to him again. He said that, and then he said that they are doing their best to accommodate the students that will coming back. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, that he is projecting, or his office and the staff is projecting, that only 35% of the student population will be going back after Thursday. I actually asked him why then they were doing a push through a video and through emails and trying to put people into misunderstandings. He has stated that he doesn't think that there is misunderstandings from their mixed communication via videos or email. And then we went into talking about, you know, what was this meeting about, right? Because he said, why are you calling this meeting? I said, I didn't call any meeting. Lindsay and Nancy and others just, you know, got into a chat, and then we decided to put this together. I had the ability of doing it because I had the Zoom open, and I created the meeting and I put the event on Facebook. But this is by no means John's Moreno-Escobar's meeting. This is our community, our people's meeting. And then I told him, because we need this space, because we don't have this space when we go to KCW. And so the position of the superintendent is that the school district is utilizing the parent university or the mass email, the mass text as their way to communicate what is happening. And I put out a tweet today where he said that there is a big issue with communication. There needs to be a reset button for everything when it comes into communication. text messages, emails, a robocall, a video is not going to fulfill the needs of a parent. The parent needs to know what's happening in their schools. And his answer was to reach out to your principal. If people had questions about accommodations or were concerns about the ratio of the student teacher in the classroom, that they needed to reach out to their principals. And I told him I did. And so for everyone who's here in this call, I personally replied right away after I heard the news about flexing or having flexibility on the physical distancing to my principal at my elementary school for my son. He didn't reply. The assistant principal did. And she explained that, it will be case by case. But then after that, she called me because I replied to her saying, this is CDC guidelines. You are telling me that you guys are not gonna follow the guidelines? So then she decided to call me. And I don't wanna put anyone who's here, part of the school district, into this, but usually when you wanna call, you don't wanna leave a paper trail. You don't wanna leave something on writing that is going to maybe use against you. She called me and she talked to me about the different things that they think they're going to do when we have a lot of students in their schools. And the shocking part, Ms. Fusco, was that she said, CDC guidelines are just that, they guidelines. We don't have to follow them because our governor told us that all the students needed to go back to schools as a mandate from the governor. So I didn't really engage. I just let her talk, and I told her, can you please send me a note via email about what happened? And that was it. So I don't want to extend into that. And then to answer your question about the superintendent, he never was really interested or eager to apply to this. So to come to this. So he didn't show interest, I guess. So I'm fine with that. I told him, you're welcome to come. And this is for us to gather the concerns of the community and making sure that you are here to address those to them. Because you have my cell phone, but you don't have the 72 people's cell phones here in this meeting to call them and explain to them what's happening. So I feel privileged that he gave me a call because he knew me, but that is not the solution. So I make sure that he knew that. And he made his decision to not show up as the other board members did. They all got the invitation. They all maybe thought that this was not important, or maybe they didn't have the time because they have their own affairs and their own families. I'm not gonna judge that, but it's really sad to see that happen in Ms. Fusco. So that is the story. I'm sorry that I got into explain all this, but I didn't want to share my conversation with Mr. Runcie just because, I don't want to get into this back and forth of what he said, what I said, but that's what happened in the call. I respect everyone. I think everyone has their own positions. I respect everyone's positions. He told me about a lot of Fauci's research about schools, and there is some things that we could agree upon, but Broward, and I told him Broward is different than other counties. It's different in many ways than other counties. We are larger than many other counties here. We're the 6th largest school district with 278,000 students going through our district, being the largest employer, 30,000 plus people in our district. So it's a different monster. So with that, I'm going to stop because I know a lot of people raised their hand after I spoke. I don't know what I said. I said something good or something bad. For Ms. Rupert, I'm saying things good. So her face. But that's what it is, Ms. Fusco. I hope that answers your question. Good? Yeah? Okay, we're gonna leave it there. All right, so I have Tracy. I'm sorry I didn't write down your last name. Tracy, you wanna?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I just wanna make sure everybody can hear me okay. Is everybody able to hear me okay? I'm sitting in my virtual classroom. Thank you for hosting this meeting tonight. My name is Tracy Merlin. I have been a Broward County school teacher for 21 years. I've been very outspoken on school safety going on a few years now. This summer, I had the privilege of speaking to a national audience on the Cuomo evening production where I commended Broward for their efforts. My husband and I have a 4th grader who attends the school that I work at virtually for right now. I want to bring up a couple of points that I think are really paramount. Lindsay, you and I have been in communication many times on social media, and I would urge you to encourage you to change the word from lower expectations to shift expectations. I don't think that we need to lower expectations. I think we need to look at things within the parameters of being in a pandemic and being in an environment where our second graders, that's the grade that I teach, are learning how to navigate a technological virtual world, how to be able to engage in conversations and get through some of these tech savvy things that they might not utilize until they're in high school. I think that the standardized testing is completely obscene. It should not happen this year. There is no way that teachers can monitor from a virtual environment who is off camera telling the children. I had spoken to multiple teachers. I had one teacher reach out yesterday and explain that there's a child in her class reading on a kindergarten level, yet has gotten perfect 100% on every single assignment for the entire year. The parent is off camera, but these things are happening on a regular basis. So if we talk about the validity and the reliability of standardized testing, this is not the time or the place to do it. As far as Superintendent Runcie, he has changed his tune somewhat. In the summer, in the early part of this year, he was very much an advocate for making sure that the educators who were at risk were able to meet their ADA accommodation and stay home. Our votes have major consequences. We have a governor in office right now who said it would be the year of the teacher. He forgot the backstabbing knife that he put in every teacher's back who's not a first-year teacher this year. He passed a tremendous opportunity for first-year teachers to make salary only a couple of $1,000s less than people who have been teaching for 21 years. So that tells you right there that the mentality of the teachers in this county right now is at an all-time low. We are a right-to-work state. I know that Ms. Fusco can talk about that, but I have never seen my colleagues and coworkers more dehumanized than they have been this year. I've been using the hashtag disposable teachers since this summer, and there have been so many people who have hopped onto that because the reality is that they are treating us like we are disposable. And if we don't value and support and uplift the educators in your children's classes, there is no contingency plan. As I've mentioned before on multiple occasions, there are no subs. We can't get subs. So when our teachers are getting sick, which will happen, and I understand that we have alternative data, but I highly recommend that you look at Rebecca Jones and the COVID monitor. If you follow that and you see what's happening, you will notice that there are teachers getting sick. Every day you can see multiple teachers that are passing away from COVID. There are sites that are completely dedicated to teachers around the county and the country, excuse me, who have been passing away daily from COVID. You start looking at those faces and reading their stories, maybe going back into the classroom isn't the best idea for people who are at risk. I have not disclosed this, but I'll be more than happy to. I am one of the people who received the ADA accommodation, and it was left up to the principals upon the return of Monday to go back in what each principal in an elementary school, middle school, or high school was going to do. I happen to have a very supportive principal, but not everybody's in my case. So you have to keep in mind that principals in different schools have different relationships with their staff. If you're a noisemaker, if you rock the boat, you may have a principal who doesn't support your efforts and will not go out of their way to make sure that you can continue to work from home. As I've mentioned before, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If teachers don't feel safe in their own learning environment, how can they help and foster the children who need that support and nurturing in their classrooms? I know personally that when I'm having my best days with the kids, it's when they feel comfortable and I feel comfortable. And I can tell you that there are tremendous positives that are coming out of having a virtual classroom. And it is working for some people. It is not working for everybody, and that's okay. I understand why the county is trying to get back some of the people into the classroom who are having the most difficulties. But we need to look at people on a case-by-case basis. And we need some consistency, and we need some honest and open dialogue in this county, and teachers need to feel supported. And we've talked around in circles on social media and on things for Broward County, but this last-minute Band-Aid approach to things and the day before finding out, it is the most unprofessional component in the way that they teach and the way that they treat the educators and employees of this county. This last minute thing that happens. And it's a repeated pattern in Broward County that things happen last minute. And there's no reason for that to be the case. So I know I've overextended my 3 minutes. You talked about passion. I'm more than willing to speak with anybody and try to help in any way, but I think that we have to open up our voices. And by the way, this is the same desk that I sat down at 7 a.m. this morning. And when I finish this meeting, I'm gonna stay up writing my EPs, which are due tomorrow by 5. This is why you don't have as many teachers as you need to, because we're already overworked and can't meet the demands of what we need to do in a day in the time that we've given. So thank you for listening to me, and I encourage people to open up their mouths and start talking, because we have to have some changes here.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And with that, we will finalize our meeting. Not just kidding. Thank you for your words, and thank you for your passion, and you know, and thank you for sharing today. I know some of you are having issues with raising your hand. If you do, just send me a message right here on the general on private, and I will put you on the list. Again, what we're going to do, because I know there's a lot of passion, a lot of things that we want to say, I'm going to be posting a little heart on my screen when I feel that your time is expiring. So you can wrap up your idea, okay, with a love of a heart, not with, you know, cutting you off, just with love. So the next person is Catherine P. If you could introduce yourself and then make your comment or ask a question.
Hi, my name's Catherine. I am a Broward County teacher. I'm also a product of Broward County Public Schools, Olson Middle School, South Broward High School, class of 91, and a 23-year veteran. And I can say that I feel like a first-year teacher. I have not worked this hard in 20 years. And I've been a tech teacher. You know, I'm a history teacher. This nonsense where kids aren't doing great. You know what? I just finished up while we were talking, putting together somewhere in the area of like 20 different grade change forms. Why? Not because I'm inflating grades. It was the first quarter. The kids thought it was like last year when our governor told them no one was going to fail. So they took it as a free-for-all. So they didn't do anything. So they came back this year thinking it was going to be the same deal. And so what I had to do was find a way with love to motivate them. And I did. And I got kids who went from F's to A's. And anybody who's had Ms. Palmer knows that does not happen. Okay, not unless you work for it. I don't give grades. You have to earn them. I am sitting in what was, until this morning, my classroom. What infuriates me is that he talks about him being our leader, and I use that term loosely. He talks about 600 teachers who were granted the ability to stay home. Well, you know what? This teacher wasn't. This teacher who has a treatable but incurable cancer, this teacher that has an autoimmune disease, this teacher who spent hours not only seeking out my training from Broward County Public Schools, but from other places, because I knew my kids deserved the best. And so I went and sought out all of the training to ensure that I could provide them what they deserved. And so what happens is you get exactly what all of my colleagues are talking about. You get a group of teachers that just feel so dejected. I walked into my building today, and I've got a good principal. He's given me a few things. He took care of me today, but I'm a strong woman, and I broke down twice today. You know, we shouldn't be in this situation. I've got kids, and middle school is different. Elementary school teachers, you guys got my props, man. I don't know how y'all are doing it. But what I know with middle school teachers is that there's no schedule changing going to be happening. So basically, he just moved my location. I'm still going to be teaching kids online. I'm just going to have a group of kids face-to-face with me, putting my life at risk. I've already been asked, and I do not mean to sound insensitive, so please forgive me, but it has been years and years of it piling up. So I've already been asked to put myself in harm's way if the unthinkable should happen at my school. And now I'm being asked to go back to school and possibly be infected with a virus that could kill me, because I happen to be one of those people. Because of my cancer, they can't use the remdesivir on me. So I'm in a losing battle, and yet I have to go back to a school building tomorrow morning. I asked the parents, have those heart-to-heart questions and comments with the teachers, not the administrators. They're not going to give you straight answers. Find out from the teachers, the people that are in the trenches, what's going on. Because they're the ones who are really going to be able to give you the fact that I sat in a classroom today, and I will tell you my desks are not 6 feet apart, nor will they ever be. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for sharing. I have Lori, and then on cue we have Ronnie, just so you guys know. And then after Ronnie, I have Randall, Idelma, and then Lindsay. And at the end, as now a Dream. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. So Lori.
Hi, John. Thank you so much. Thank you for pulling this meeting together. I want to start by, I'm a parent. I want to start by just giving so much gratitude to the teachers who have, and John, unfortunately, I'm not in a place where I can use my video right now. So I apologize that I can't be on camera, but I just, my heart goes out to all of you. The struggles, whether you're teaching from home or the classroom, this is just an unprecedented situation, and my heart goes out to you. And I'm sorry that you're having to contend with this. This is unconscionable. And, you know, one thing I want to raise, John, I received a robocall last week, and then an email, and then a text, and then a phone call to tell me that my child, who is 11 and in 6th grade, who is home, needs to return to the classroom because of her performance. And I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. No idea whatsoever. And the communication indicated that someone from the school would be calling me and to discuss it with me. And so I waited for their call, and I thought to myself, well, they're not going to like this phone call. I got the phone call. I got the phone call from 6th grade guidance, who was lovely, lovely person. But I said, what is this? Who put my child on a list, and on what basis? My child has A's, B's, and I think 2 C's. And quite frankly, I'm grateful that she's doing as well as she is under the circumstances. This was a huge transition year, and she had some health issues last year. So 5th grade was challenging enough because of her health. She's a healthy kid, but she ran into some health issues in January of last year. And so, you know, going into 6th grade was going to be a huge transition. I'm thrilled with the way she's performing. And, you know, with the person, and I don't know, I think it was Tracy, you know, I was thinking the other day, my daughter has better team skills than I do, and I work in teams all day long in my corporate life. So to think about what she's been able to learn and accomplish, and how to navigate a world of change. But, you know, the 6th grade guidance counselor said she didn't know why she was on the list, that it wasn't done at the school, that it was some algorithm done at Broward County that put my child on a list, that I should return her to a school where she is not going to be safe, and where they're, in that same letter, told me that they're not going to socially distance. Now, that's just not going to happen under any circumstances. I don't care if my child had straight F's. She's not going into a classroom where her health and the health of her teacher is going to be jeopardized. Period. End of story. The fact that teachers have not been prioritized for immunizations over tourists that are coming into the state of Florida is unconscionable. And so to ask any teacher to step into a classroom, if it's that important, give them an immunization. Prioritize them. Put them at the front of the line. Don't allow another goddamn tourist, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm heated. Don't let another tourist come into this state knowing damn well why they're coming without putting a teacher at the front of the line. You want our kids back in class? Do the right thing. Put the teachers in front, protect them, and then protect our children. And then we'll have a conversation, and not a minute before then. I'm done. Thank you, John.
Please just stop thanking me. This is the community. So thank everyone for making this space possible. Yes, Ms. Fusco.
John, I know the answer. If some of the parents were wondering why
Yep.
your children made this so-called list, I had some teachers call me today that they were handed lists because the cadre leaders told the principals we don't have enough students coming back into the schools physically face to face. They went back and they looked at the assessments that were given in September to show where the kids were their levels. They're basing it off that from September. They're not looking at grades with A's, B's, C's, D's, or F's. I had some teachers tell me that, Anna, I don't feel comfortable telling a parent that their child is making A's and B's for whatever reason why they're making it, even if they are ESOL, ESC, whatever it would be, they're getting outside help, they're getting extra tutoring, and they're making that grade that their child is not performing well and possibly failing. They must come back, and if not, they got a special letter that the principal said the parents have to sign it. It's a tactic that I feel is just out of control. I'm pleading with Nora and Sarah and Debbie and the other board members I've called and asked about that. You guys have to question this and you have to stop it. It's not acceptable that this is the way that we're going to get students back into the schools. We are in a pandemic, and we do have to have some faith and some trust in the parent of a child that they can make a great decision on what's best for their child. We're the educator. We're not the end all be all. We're here to work with the parent. If we're not going to be honest with them, that is not right. Our teachers were very torn. They got a direct from the principal and to do this phone call to parents, and they're going to be checked up on to see if the phone calls happen, and they felt that they weren't going to be honest with the parent, and that's not fair. So I'm hoping you guys are listening. It's a very strong conversation that I'm asking you to have with Robert Runcie and Jeff Moquin and Valerie Wanza. If a cadre called the principals to tell them to do that, that was a direct from Valerie Wanza. So it's a concern. No parent should be put in that position. And that's how that list has been created. It's not really based on if a student hasn't tuned into remote learning, that they've got excessive absences, that they've shown decent Fs. And there are lots of schools that are just telling teachers call every single student, because we'll reach some, and some will have some type of scare tactic that I better get my kid in or they might fail. No parent wants to hear that their child isn't making progress, might fail, might not make it to the next grade level. It's just not fair, and it's not fair to do it in this situation that we are still in this pandemic. So that is the truth of why parents are getting those calls.
Thank you, Ms. Fusco. Thank you for clarifying and bringing some of that to light. Ms. Fusco, can you again go to the ratio between social workers and students? So I was taking a note, you say 100 and something.
About 120 social workers. We have a few different types of groups. We have social workers and we have family counselors. There's about 40 of those. And then we have school psychologists, which there's about 100 of them. So social workers can have anywhere from 3 to 4 schools, and then they have to travel to the schools. By the way, they're also being forced to go sit in a room alone. They're not being afforded the opportunity to be able to sit home and work as an office type setting when they're not physically meeting face to face with students, because they need to be at the admin's beck and call. So those are some other choices that admin has made, that it's just business as usual, throw everybody back into the schools. I had a principal tell me last week, by the way, Broward Teachers Union is visiting schools every day. We're out to 30, 40, 50 schools a day. And we're asking questions. We're trying to see what conditions people are going back into. Are air conditionings working? How are the water fountains accessible with the new equipment on it so they can use their water bottles? All different things that we're checking to make sure. I've heard that there's schools with no soap, there's no paper towels. It's so many different things that, and Valerie Wanza has put a gag order on the admin to not speak to us. And right there, that is a problem, because we're out there to help and make sure things are being taken care of, so your children are in a good, clean, conducive environment. And having people to go into a portable or a classroom that is on the other side of the school, or figure out a small type of room, closet size room, to say, come in and sit here all day. Nobody will come in. Nobody will contact you. You won't have any outside contact with anyone else to get your work done. To me, is just, it's unprofessional and inhumane when people are able to set up in the safety of their own home, office type setting, to be able to work remote with the students, because they're not physically speaking with the student. But the ratio of our family counselors, social workers, and school psychologists are so minimal, and they're so overworked. Their ratio to the students is way above the state mandate. Our school board district just keeps piling it on and piling it on, and that's a fact.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to, I know some people send me private messages. They wanted to know exactly the number, which is great. Thank you, Ms. Fusco. And I have Ronnie coming up next, and I know it's getting late, so I appreciate everyone who sticks to their time when you guys are making your comments or questions. Thank you. Ronnie, you're still here?
Hi, yes, I'm an educator, and this is, I think, my 20th year teaching. I love my job, as I'm sure every teacher that's still up attending this meeting does. I'll be honest, I'm at my breaking point. I'm discouraged. I feel disrespected daily by not my students and not their parents, because I got amazing parents and students, but by the district. There's been no communication. I'm learning things about what's going on Twitter or on the nightly news instead of being told by my employer. My principal is not being given information prior to me either, but I have parents that obviously trust me with their kids, and they have questions that I can't answer because I'm not being told anything. And then, to be completely honest, the information that Runcie is putting out there is just, I don't want to say it's not true, but it's not. He's saying, oh, students that are at home are going to be taught with, put in one class, and kids that are at school are going to be in another. And that's not happening. Maybe at some places it's been able to, but you guys know how big this district is, and the numbers are not going to add up. And why would he do this mid-year instead of at the beginning of the year, when it could have maybe been done? But right now, teaching 15 kids that are online and 10 kids that are, in the classroom at the same time, no one is getting the best. Teachers are pulled. We can't be spread any thinner. We don't feel safe. I'm not in a high risk group, but I've lost 3 friends to COVID since this pandemic, and only one of them would have been deemed high risk had they, applied. The other 2 did not have risk factors prior. You never know how this is going to affect anyone. There's not that much known. And, get us vaccinated, keep us safe. Kids can catch up on, I don't even feel like they're going to have to catch up. We're basing this off of standards that some government person came up with anyway. And we're so worried about them not meeting these ridiculous standards that have been set before them. They're going to be fine academically. They might have gaps that we need to bridge later, but we'll do that. But when a child loses a parent, or even has a parent or a loved one in the hospital, and we're too busy pushing that they're not on pace or on track for promotion, we've lost humanity in that. And that's just, that's just ridiculous. We need to put our kids first, and we need to put our teachers not first, but at least somewhere on that, list of what's important, because they're dropping like flies, and the ones who are still around are struggling. They're struggling emotionally, they're struggling physically. It's too much, and we need our leader to be more organized and quit putting the cart before the horse. He needs to have plans instead of just saying things that he can't make happen. And that's really all I'm going to need to say.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to move into Randall, also a teacher. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Randy Deitch, and I'm a 29-year educator in Broward. And I really enjoyed working in Broward, past tense. But I'd like to address a few items when we talked about call to actions. I'd like to give possible solutions to these items. And the first one is things that have already been touched on before, is the article quote from Muncie in the South Florida interview. Made that comment about, he actually used the phrase, all hands on deck. I love that, all hands on deck. And then it continues about talking about the classrooms having traditional interaction settings. There are district employees who are not currently assigned to schools that have told Florida DOE that I have maintained certification in educational areas. That's either elementary or secondary specialized areas. There is absolutely no reason for these employees who are been manning their jobs at their remote locations, who are not at high risk, why aren't they assigned to schools for a percentage of their work time teaching these particular classes? If I work in, in talent development, and I have maintained a degree in biology, why am I not taking a period or two in biology and teaching those students and letting the teachers work with the students remotely who have accommodations? There's plenty, you don't have to worry about substitutes. There are plenty of employees in the district that have maintained their certifications, who work in district offices, who have not spent time in the classroom, yet they continually recertify until this date they're eligible to teach in the classroom. So which one is it? So I think that's a possible solution, that I think everyone in this room is a person of influence, not just our school members and Anna, we all have emails. That should be shared. The other thing that's kind of really grinding my gears is that the irony that we're in the business of education, yet we are pretty much the only one who have not looked at COVID, this pandemic, as a transformational event. I think we should have not just the short-term solutions like getting our district employees into the classrooms, but a long-term plan of lessons learned and how we can help our students, of a cross-functional team with students. I think we have untapped retired administrators, and I think that's a valued group because they're unshackled. They don't have any, they're not bound by a cadre director and evaluations. And why is it that we have an opportunity, yet we have rubber band leadership? Everyone else is expanding and changing. Fast food industry is doing a better job with handling this pandemic than the Institute of Education. It's incredible. We have rubber band leadership that goes backwards. So I think there should be this cross-functional group of looking at this as a transformational event. And the last thing that annoys the heck out of me is the reaction on making this correlation and causation from failing grades to gotta have them in remote. It must be remote. Maybe it has completely ignoring the fact that our parents might be dealing with unemployment, or they're at high risk jobs and a high level of stress, or the fact that our families are waiting in line for hours for getting food at food lines on the weekends. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. It has to do with remote. Or it's the fact that you have 3 or 4 children all in the living room taking classes remotely. When no one's actually said, well, why don't we just get noise canceling headphones first as the first intervention when a student says, I can't concentrate at school. No, we gotta now send them to school, add actually more concerns to things that are already on their plate. And they're gonna also wave the SDL flag. It's ludicrous. There is a lack of discipline in this educational institution to look at data. There has been so many knee-jerk reactions made by this leadership group. I wonder why they're here. It doesn't make any sense. I like to, I want to have a leadership team that actually practices something that we try to do in the classroom. We do a better job of trying to find the root cause. Students who are absent from school or who are not handing an assignment, that's not the problem, that's a symptom. And no one above the line that is making these decisions is getting to the root cause. Let's focus on that. Thank you for your time and thank you for organizing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you so much for your words. I just wanted to stop 1 second here before we move. We have Idelma, then we have Adreen. Is that correct, Adreen? That's how you say your name? I'm sorry. No, okay. You will correct me when we get to you. I do apologize. I'm really bad with names. And then we have Jean. One thing that I want us to stop on is what Randall said, which is making COVID-19 a transformational event. We haven't changed anything of what we do. None, nothing, zero. We haven't really looked into other ways of teaching. We try to transfer our classroom into a Zoom call. That's what we try to do and we continue to do. But I have to say that many of you teachers out there are really going the extra mile to make sure that our kids are going and learning in different ways, offline, online, even though if they are online. My son's teacher takes him out of the screen every 30 minutes and do some of the work that we pick up at school. But we really have to think about how we could transform the way that we teach our kids after COVID-19. This is unacceptable, and I just wanted to make sure that I double the sentiment with Randall's comments, because it's incredibly crazy that we are paying, let's start with that. We're paying tons of money to these people at the top, and they are not coming with ideas that will really transform our kids' lives after COVID. Teaching, grading, testing, let's start with that. And I know Randall has great ideas about grading. He has been posting it online, and hopefully in a future meeting we could talk about that. But we have to transform the way that we teach our kids. And due to COVID-19, this is an opportunity and we are letting it pass. Sorry, I got passionate about that because I wrote something about it and made a video a long time ago about this. So I'm gonna let it pass. But now I'll go to Idelma. Idelma, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Well, a lot of what I was going to say has kind of been said already, but I want to say one thing. I hope everyone who's here will remember when it's time to elect our governor. Remember the policies that Governor DeSantis has put in place that have put all of us in this situation. And my son is a graduating high school senior this year with an IEP. And he is having the best year that he's ever had in Broward County Public Schools. He's got the best teachers he's ever had. And I don't want him to lose the teachers he currently has. I don't want those great teachers to leave the profession. And I want them to stay strong and healthy. I also want to kind of just one more time reiterate what Tracy said about the last minute nature of all of this. I don't think it's a good idea to be doing this in the middle of the school year, well, actually past the middle of the school year. And I don't think it should be done in a knee-jerk kind of way. It would be really disruptive, I think, if they end up having to reassign teachers. I also, I'm not sure that I've got the latest information, but I understand that there are kids who are not doing well. I agree with what Randall said. We don't know why. And I don't think we should assume that it's just because of the remote learning. I think that would be the first question, is find out why before coming up with a solution that may not address the problem. But secondly, how are teachers supposed to juggle if they're going to have that many more kids in front of them and they're having their highest need kids theoretically in front of them? How's that going to affect my son's education if he's an online student. I'm definitely not sending him back into the building. That I know for sure. I don't want the quality of his best school year to go down because the teacher's overwhelmed by the high need kids in the classroom. Again, I'm not sure that I've got the latest information on that plan, but I have that concern. So I think that pretty much those are the big ones for me that I wanted to make sure I voice, and that people on the school board who are still on the call would take into consideration. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Idelma. Appreciate your comments and your your questions. I'm pretty sure that Ms. Fusco and the only board member that is not here anymore, it's Ms. Rupert, but I know Ms. Hickson and Ms. Leonardi are here, so definitely somebody will bring those into the dais when they're discussing those topics. All right, so we have next Lindsay Riha.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Lindsay Riha. I am a ESC teacher at Stoneman Douglas High School. A lot of you have concerns. I'll have to be honest with you. I mean, since we've been in COVID on lockdown since March, I've had a very good year. It's been fantastic. And I know a lot of ESC teachers have been struggling because obviously, you know, you're dealing with students with different disabilities, and online is not the best way to reach the students, but it's been fantastic. I had parent support. The students are always on time. We get work done, and it's been very good. And even since I've been back, I'm not high risk. I've been back since October. I have 2 students out of 14 in my that are physically in school. The rest of them are going to be online for probably the rest of this year. My son, who is in an elementary school in Coral Springs, he's been back since November. I've had no complaints. I've, of course, have had my concerns since I get the mass emails, calls, text messages about a new person with COVID at the school. And even in my department, we were on quarantine because somebody in our department had COVID. We're a school of 3,300 kids. We don't even have 10%. This is now before we're going to have a few more students going back, but even then we're not going to have 50%. But we've already had 3 departments / staff teams that have had COVID, and the whole staff department have had to go into quarantine. It's not even 10%. I don't know what that tells anybody, but that tells me that when more kids come back, and God forbid, when our 3,300 kids come back, it's not going to be a good sign. I had a talk with my administration. I have a fantastic administration team, very supportive. I'm not much of a complainer anyways, but I was having a talk with the administration. And when, Runcie said, we do not, schools don't have, the cases of COVID like other places do. He was like, yeah, you know why? Because there's nobody in school. That's an obvious statement. You start putting down the CDC guidelines that are in place. And keep in mind, I have enough space in my classroom, even with 2 kids. So we'll be fine. But for the rest of the staff that's at our school, I don't know. It's pretty empty at our school too. We don't have a lot of staff members coming back. And I don't know why. Whether it's taking a leave, they're just taking the week off, taking their sick days until they can use them up. It's concerning. I work with these teachers all the time. I've only been at that school 3 years. But it's a very good community relationship with those teachers. And to see them go because of something that is could really be solved, I think, in a much easier way. I'm disheartened by it. And I was disheartened by it in October when we were all kind of forced to go back. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, I've been watching school board meetings since the summer about back to school procedures. And I, just like Tracy said, in the summer, Runcie was very, like, we're going to do this the safe way. And then now all of a sudden, okay, we're not. I mean, in October, we weren't ready. And I saw the meetings and I saw how hard the school board staff was trying to put together something given the deadline that they had to accommodate. But now it's unfortunate because those students, they go out to electives, and some of those elective teachers aren't coming back. And I raised my concerns, because what's going to happen when, for example, I have to go back into quarantine for X, Y, and Z reasons? What's going to happen when all of that, you know, goes into effect? And it's going to happen. I mean, there's no way that it won't. I'm thankful that I've had a really good year. Yeah, I've definitely had my moments where, as a teacher, I don't feel like I
think we lost her.
Oh, sorry, I
you're
was
back?
on mute.
Oh,
I was muted.
I was like, we lost you. Okay, go ahead. You have one more minute to wrap up.
I'm very thankful that I have the parents and the students to support me. And I'm thankful that I have my administration. I'm thankful that I have my team. But like Tracy was saying, I know that's not the case everywhere. And I had this conversation in October with the principal at my son's elementary school when we were going on about supplies and how there weren't any supplies. If it's happening in Coral Springs and Parkland, then what's happening to the rest of the Broward County Public Schools? And that will go on for now until the end of this school year, and who knows what's going to happen at the beginning of next school year. And that's my piece. Thank you.
No, thank you for sharing. Now I have, who I have? Oh, she's gonna kill me. Adrienne, yes?
It's Adrian.
Adrian, okay,
lovely.
Adrian, welcome.
Pretty much everyone has said how I feel, how we both feel. We're parents. My child goes to one of the schools here. And I guess a few things. One, that survey that we got about, I was so offended and enraged by the language used in it. It was manipulative. It was clear what kind of response the superintendent wanted to elicit, which is just send our kids back to school. Let's just ignore what's going on. Let's ignore the 20,000 cases a day, or just, I don't know, our eyes. I feel like it's the emperor has no clothes. And it is, I don't know, it's crazy to me. Teachers are people, and I think they have been treated like garbage. And it is incredibly upsetting as a parent, as a human being. So that's.
And they're not telling all the cases.
And the other thing is, our schools are not telling the parents all the cases. So, and I know this, I know that there was a positive case at my kid's school. We never got any contact to say that there was a positive case. So according to how many calls we've gotten, there's only been 3 cases, which I know is a lie. So as parents, we're being lied to so that we can make the choice to send our kids back. It's all manipulation. There's no transparency. I think teachers are being lied to. My question is why? Big, all caps, why? What are they trying to do? What is their goal? I mean, is it funding? I don't know, but I don't get it. I mean, these are lives. This is people's health. I don't understand. It's a pandemic. This is like Darwin, survival. Like, to me, it's just a very easy choice. You know, it's an A or somebody's life. I don't know. Like, I mean, and I know that's simplifying things. People, and Randall said the thing about, like, why are kids not doing well? Oh, it's remote. Well, no, there's a pandemic. You don't know what's going on in life. Maybe somebody can't put food on the table. Exactly. I mean, it's like, there's more to it than just remote learning. So those are things, but I guess my main question would be, okay, so everybody goes back. Social distancing, who needs it? You know, because they're just guidelines. So when the cases skyrocket, and if if they're being honest about it and transparent about the cases skyrocketing, what are they going to do? Are they just going to keep pushing forward and pretending it's not happening? Or are they going to go, oh, let's have a brain and we'll pull back and go back to virtual 100% or what? Like, is there a plan for when it fails? Or are they just going to ignore that it's failing and keep going forward, which seems to be the way the country is going? Let's just ignore it and and sing off into the, that's just what it feels like. So that's my question is, what happens when it all goes to crap? You know, what are they going to do? So that's my question that I would ask the board.
Ms. Fusco, you want to take a stab to that question? I know maybe you want to take a stab. The only comment I would say to that is follow the money. And there is definitely a big reason why we're pushing this. There was a conversation, and many of you remember, from the school board, and Ms. Fusco was there telling the board members to be courageous and take a position about defending the lives of our students and our teachers and our communities by pushing back to the state. But in the middle of the meeting, somebody received an email from the governor's office and the Secretary of Education, and then they were helping them with the date, and the date was moved and accommodated out of the sudden in the middle of the meeting. And I don't want to get into that, but definitely there is money involved always. That is the only thing I could say. Ms. Fusco?
So real quick on that meeting, I remember it methodically because we called a press conference and at the state time of state rep, but now he's Senator Chevron Jones, who actually knows our Department of Education Commissioner very well, Richard Cochran, and he spoke on behalf of us. And I do believe the only reason why we got the date pushed back was because of Chevron. Our board members took a moment of standing strong for a millisecond. And then if you go back and rewatch it, because I've Facebook Lived it on my Facebook, they took a sharp turn back towards caving because they felt they weren't going to get any more out of Mr. Cochran. I believe that they would have held together 9 and our superintendent. It's exactly what it's about. It's about the money. And Mrs. Adrienne Nolan and Mr. Nolan, I appreciate the incredible comments that you have said. I'm touched. I can feel the empathy that you guys are having. It's about the money. They want to continue high stakes testing because somebody's going to profit off of that. They want to continue with a lot of things because it is about the money. What was the whole argument at that meeting? If you don't get the kids back in school, we're not going to give you your funding. What governor threatens the 250,000 students or 270,000 students that go to Broward County Public Schools that are in the middle of a pandemic, and the parents are making the choice that I still in fear of sending my child for whatever reason it may be. They don't want their child to contract it. They don't want their child to bring it home. Let's face it, guys, kids do contract COVID, and God willing that they don't feel the severity of it as some of our adults have, and the deaths that have happened. 350,000 plus deaths shows that COVID is real. And everybody here has mentioned that has spoke that they know somebody that has contracted COVID, and worse, somebody who's died from it. That it is about the money. And to see our superintendent that said, I don't care what the governor says, if we get 5% or more, we will close schools. And here we sit at over 10%. And not only is he not even talking about closing schools or keeping our most vulnerable home and safe, he's just saying, get back in there and figure it out and deal with it. And I do have compassion for our admin. There are so many of our principals and assistant principals that are put in such a pickle that they're trying to figure it out. I put it in the chat. They keep getting a play thrown at them. They bring it to us, and then the next day they come back with another play and say, that one's not going to work, try this out. And our teachers and our admin are trying to figure it out, and everybody wants to comply. Nobody wants to be insubordinate. They don't want to let their superiors down. They don't want to let the students down. They don't want the parents down. And everybody has to understand, people are feeling the pressure. And I could see by seeing some of the parents that are on camera, you guys look frustrated and concerned and bothered by multiple things that you've expressed. But you hit the nail on the head, Mrs. Nolan. It is about the money. John, it is about the money. why our superintendent right now is not standing strong and saying, we're in a pandemic and we need to stay strong and keep people safe and healthy. If you guys would have told me last year when this started, and Mr. Runcie, myself, and others, we were standing strong together. We kept saying, let's be the solution. Let's keep people safe. Let's be happy, healthy. We're going to create a plan. Even though the plan kept getting changed, they were trying to make something that was going to work for the parents that wanted the 5 days face-to-face, that wanted hybrid, that wanted remote. They were trying to, at least they were figuring out, we were all talking, and now all of a sudden they want to stop talking and just be demanding, just dictate. It's not a way to make people feel that they're loved and valued, and that Mr. Runcie would take this drastic change, that it's business as usual, just get back in and figure it out, and we're going to make it work, and then come up with narratives that make the parents feel that their children are doing so horrible is just, it's not fair to you guys. I'm going to stop right now. I know there's other people that have some comments.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fusco. I have Jean Young, and then we're gonna have Nancy to wrap up because we finishing with comments now. It's been almost 2 hours. I wanna be conscious of tomorrow's teachers. They're staying here and they have to go back to do the reports, or why not, and they wanna go to sleep. So I do appreciate that. And also for parents, that we have to wake up early to wake up our kids and put them in front of the computer to make sure that they get the education that we are getting right now. So Jean Young.
Hi, I'm here. Perfect. So I am a second-year teacher, and I was invited by one of my parents to come to the meeting. And I just want to say, like, thank you so much for sharing, because it's the first time in a long time. Well, not really long time, because the parent that I talk to, we always share our same like thoughts about how we think that there's a lot of things messed up and like, why are they doing that to us? But it's nice to see other people are struggling with it too. And Ms. Fusco, please let me know if I'm not supposed to say something like legally, because I don't know really how these like political things work. So I just wanted to share some of my experiences. Like at this point, I feel like I'm like in the Hunger Games or something, like who will be chosen to go next? And like the worst part is that I have to sit there at a meeting and decide and like hear who will be chosen to be in person and risk their life versus who will be chosen for virtual. And then I can't be sad, I can't be happy of what I'm given, because I have to look at my coworkers and say, oh, like, what do I say to them? Oh, sorry, you were chosen to go into the classroom and risk your life. And on top of that, we weren't given a reason why we were chosen for these specific things. We just get told, oh, like, that's like private information, or like whatever, I don't even know, because they don't tell us. So like that's been amazing. And then we're told that we have to break up our students. Like this is my second time breaking it up, because I was part of the teacher shortage thing or the budget cut or whatever, where I had to break up my class because we didn't have enough funding. And then now they're telling me again, oh, guess what? You're gonna break it up, but let's go with toxic positivity, where teachers are expected to just go with the flow, be creative, be flexible, be understanding, and just deal with all this. And sorry. And then my mental health is in shatters because I feel like I'm not doing enough to meet the needs of my students, because that's all I'm told. Try harder, try harder. And yeah, it's just been really hard, and it's just weird to me that I feel like if we all work together, we'd easily come up with a solution. But then we just sit here and like, not us, but other people clearly, like they just point fingers because they don't want to take the blame or the ownership of the situation right now. And clearly we have more than enough people who are very educated and very willing to help out for free at this point, yet they don't consider all these people who clearly care for the students versus people who want to make money off of these kids for whatever reasons, because capitalism. But yes, like just the little things, even like they're really out here complaining about money and budget cuts. And then you see the things they put in our classroom, a 2-foot extension cord. They provided us water bottles for like the first 2 weeks of school. They don't like, it's just really funny how they want to do, now they want to put in these moving iPads that track us while we teach, that cost a couple $1,000s per teacher. Yet they're not even willing to take the time to ask teachers, what do you need in your classroom to support your kids right now? So, oh, sorry, I got like a little heated. That's my timer to stop. But it wasn't supposed to be a rant. I just want to share my opinions and my feelings right now. And thank you so much for listening.
Gina, I don't know if you saw the chat, but it's going wild. You make the best analogy that anyone could make about what is happening in the school board, which is the Hunger Games. And we appreciate every single thing that you are doing in the classroom. You are a hero for all of us, and that goes to every teacher. But just hearing you almost getting into cry and tears, so heartbreaking. I have family members who are teachers, and they're going through maybe similar stuff. But you being a 2-year into your job and going through this is not acceptable. Nobody should go through that. Thank you for sharing.
John,
I don't know,
Yep. These are the stories that just go right through me and push me. And I know that I seem like I'm such a tough, nasty person, but stuff like that bothers me. No second-year teacher should be crying. We should be embracing her. We should be helping her. We should be putting her through this and holding her. My second year of teaching, when I was 23 years old, I wasn't crying. I was surrounded by people that were there to watch me flourish and make sure I succeeded. And it's become just a pit where it's just, if you don't like it, get out. And I got to tell you right now, everyone on here, it's been uplifting. And I'm sorry that I'm getting emotional, but to read and hear people say, if you don't like it, go find another career. People put their life and soul into getting educated and becoming a teacher. And whether you have 2 years or you have 30 years like me, and when things get rough, you just tell people to just go. You're just not worth it. It's not how I've been raised or what I've been taught or how I've lived my life. And that's why I implore everybody to work together to build people up and make things better, because what are we teaching our youth? That it's okay, that if things don't go right, you just step on someone and walk over them. Like it's not how it should be. And I'm so sorry, Janine, that you're feeling this way, but I put it in the chat. My number's in there. You guys can reach me. Listen, I'm around the clock day and night. I barely sleep. I will answer your call. I'll help you out. Nobody should feel this way. If you all do not know that the Friday before we went on winter break, one of our teachers killed themselves, and they blame the district, and there's proof of that. It's not, I'm creating this narrative. It is something that is real. We all forget that people are human and have things that are happening, and they just want to be heard and valued and respected. And when our top leader and the people that say that they care, but they don't show it, something's wrong with that. And people should teach other people. I've only taught my students, you don't let people bully. You don't let people criticize. You stand up for your fellow peers in your classroom. But we don't want to do it when we become adults. I'm floored. This meeting has been lots of information in a lot of different ways, but I feel that the majority of it, it's been uplifting to hear that we have people that are compassionate and show empathy and want to do something. And John, I really hope that you want to call this type of forum sooner than later, so we can put conversations out there and the people that should be listening that could do something. And shame on Mr. Runcie for not being here, because you can't say that you care and not be there to say and do something. You have to show it. And you and Lindsay and the other parents that put this together to do this, I just say thank you. And I know our educators are saying thank you. I've been getting text messages and comments that they feel so much better that people actually do care. And I want to thank you again and again. Janine, I'm so sorry you're so upset, but I'm here for you, okay? And so are so many people.
Definitely. So, sorry, this was really hard. So now we have to wrap up. Nancy Fry.
All right, I'll try to keep it quick. Just first to Janine and to all the teachers on this call, my heart goes out to you. This treatment is inhumane and it's disgusting. And I'm so sorry you have to go through all this. I just really quickly wanted to come in with one more parent perspective. My son, I'm very grateful he's actually done really well this year. At the end of last year, when we first went digital, he struggled a lot. I had to be very much on top of him to make sure he got his work done. This year, he has an incredible third grade teacher. I've been able to let him gain so much independence. He works so much more independently now, and his grades have improved. It's been great. And I understand that that's not everyone's situation. But to have this constant looming threat of him losing his teacher now because I'm choosing to keep him at home, it is horrifying to me. He while he's doing great academically, he's clearly struggling emotionally and with his mental health, as would any student in this situation. And whether a student is doing well or poorly, to have that consistency of the teacher or teachers be ripped out from under them, it is not a way to treat students either. And that's not going to help anything. That's not going to make any kid do better. And it's being used as a threat to mobilize more bodies into classrooms. And it's all for the money trail, as everyone's been saying already. And it's just horrifying to me that you would threaten students in essence with this. And just a final question that I probably we won't be able to get to tonight, but I just want to know how we as parents can have enough influence over what the school board is doing to make them fight Tallahassee like they need to be, because I know they're not fighting Tallahassee, and I know Tallahassee is just dictating a lot of this, and I just want to know what we can do to flip this around so that our school board does their job to put the pressure on the Department of Education and on the governor and on the legislature so that we're all taking care of our teachers and our students and the school staff and everybody else.
We might not get to that question, and I'm going to let Ms. Fusco, because she's the only one standing as always, to maybe address a little bit about that. I think all this, I was just scrolling, I think all the school board members sign off, Nancy, but definitely Ms. Fusco might have some comments into that. And then when Ms. Fusco makes her comments about this, we're going to transition out with really two specific action items that we want you guys to follow if possible. And then to Ms. Fusco's point, we want to, again, gather to keep bringing more people to this movement that starts today. And hopefully we could get people to the building and to do public comment online as much as possible. I remember when we had some issues in the past, that when people feel that there is something really that you need to fight for, people show up. And that's what we need right now. We need you to say, I'm going to take the time off. I'm going to take the 30 minutes to write that and draft that email to send to public comment and just make it happen. And also make other people accountable by saying, if you really don't like what is happening, you really need to raise your voice and come and participate, because otherwise other people is going to make decisions for you. So Ms. Fusco?
So what we do in Broward Teachers Union is that it's the power of your voice, of reaching out to people that you know and giving phone calls and emails to the school board members. People seem to forget that the 9 school board ladies are Superintendent Runcie's boss. He gives them the direct. And if there are 5 people that give him a direct, he needs to follow through with it. Right now, unfortunately, it tinkers back between 4, 3. We never really have a solid 5 on what's to do right and to get things done, and to actually dig deep into where we're seeing so many discrepancies. We have some schools that are going to do these schedule changes for the face-to-face and the remote, and then we have some schools that are just going to stay the same. Some say they have the plan already, some say they don't. Well, where are the board members that are standing up and saying what is really going on and give us a direct answer? If you guys go back and you can see every board meeting, and I know it's a lot to watch, it clearly shows you how they have the discussions and who is really willing to dig deep and make people held accountable and who is just pushing through it. So the way to get some action is that the board members need to have that push. I say all board members, not just the board members that live in you live in their area or the area that if you may work. If you contact all of them, they get inundated. They do read it. They might not answer back, but they do read it. And the power of the parent is so incredible that sometimes they forget. My son is a product of Broward County Public Schools, and I don't regret any minute of him being in there. He had a fantastic teacher. He's an incredible, successful civil servant firefighter, not in this county. And it's because of the wonderful education he received and the great teachers that he had, and actually great principals. So at times, though, there was a different group of school board members when he was in, and they demanded different things. So the power that you guys have, school board members, editorials, and I'll tell you right now, what is a big push driving right now is that what do you guys see that's happening on the news outlet is what is going on in our education system related to COVID, because our state is taking such a drastic position that the COVID doesn't matter and just get everybody back in and just figure it out. That I believe that's the power of the press is something that drives our school board members, that if they don't pay attention to the emails, they're paying attention to the media. And that is a way to get a message through. Get a group of parents to call your own press conference. You'll be surprised what press will show up, and that will give a push. So keeping constant contact, be relentless, don't give up. It's hard because it can be draining, it can be tiring. Guess what our superintendent banks on? He banks on that he can continue to give a different roundabout answer and not follow through, and that people will give up. And that's something that it's not in me. I don't give up, I'm relentless. Some people say I can be a pain in the butt, but the bottom line is that there are so many people out there that don't have a strong voice, and they need people to have their voice. You guys coming to this tonight says a lot. You want to be a voice. You want to be a voice for yourself, for your child, for others, and you'll be surprised how many people that are in your own inner circle that are also a voice. The thing that people don't aware of their voice is because nobody asks. So go out there and ask your friends, relatives, are you willing to stand with me, with my child, with your child? And you'll be surprised. If you ask 10, you might get 5. If you ask 10 and you get 1, it's 1 more that we didn't have that joins. And that is where it grows, when people are like-minded and want good. And I do believe that we have more good than bad. And it's just proven, because I didn't think I'd be sitting here tonight hearing such wonderful comments and caring and compassion and love for the educator, because you know that you want what's best for your child. So it's there, and just keep talking and wanting and demanding. And there's so many ways to demand. That's the answer.
Thank you, Ms. Fusco. And I want to just before we wrap up, I know it's 11:04, so I do appreciate everyone who stayed this long. We had almost 80 people in this, maybe more than 80 people during this call, this video call today, and I appreciate that more than half of that number stayed connected, listening, or actively participating in this meeting. It really means a lot, not for me or for Lindsay or Nancy, which were the ones who kind of like heard the passion and the concerns of the people out there, but for the teachers and them being the core of the system. I know, Rod, you had your hand up, and I want to honor that before we go. You really have 3 minutes, brother. So let's make it count, and then we will wrap up.
It'll be quick. No, I just want to say thank you to all the teachers out there for everything you do. I know it's a struggle, and thank you, Anna Fusco, for everything you do. I know we don't always see eye to eye, but I know you have all the teachers' best intentions. So I just want to say one thing. In 2022, we're going to have 3 school board members that are going to be coming up for re-election, which is Donna Korn at large chair, and then we're going to have Lori Rich Levinson and Ann Murray. So if people want change, as we know through this year's election, is to change through voting. So in 2022, if you want to control Runcie, we all know that we have to make change in the school board to sway the vote. So that's pretty much all I just wanted to say, just to remind everybody when 2022 comes to make the changes. I know it's not going to do much for now to help us get through all these times, but I know it'll make a change in the future. So if we all keep fighting and advocating, you know, we'll be able to make change down the road. So anyway, I just want to say thank you, and everybody have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you, Rod. And in order to wrap up, again, I wanted to make sure that we have 2 action items to make sure that we are kind of like in sync. And again, we will be sending an email after this to Ms. Fusco's point. First thing, and many people were writing on the chat, please, 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 if you can go in person to KCW, make sure that you participate in public comment. Unfortunately, not for this one coming up tomorrow, because it's going to be a workshop, but next meeting, which is next Tuesday, there is going to be a standard, general meeting. Please, if you can attend and be there for public comment, do that. If you cannot attend, please send an email. We will be sending in, a message with all the instructions on how to put a public comment together. So make sure that you are attentive to that email. Please go and support and comment because it's really, really important. And then the second thing is that we will have a follow-up meeting. Now that we know Anna is here and the other board members were here, we want to invite our state representatives and senators to come. I know I personally sent a note to Sherwin Jones to be here today. Unfortunately, they're in Tallahassee. I had a couple of representatives that couldn't really attend because of their schedule. We are going to try to have them here because we want them to also hear this. As Nancy mentioned, it's really important for us to lobby in Tallahassee, the budget, the vaccines, the going back to schools happens in Tallahassee, and I know that we give the responsibility to lobbyists that are contract through the school board to do this job, and it's time for us as a community to go there to Tallahassee or try to talk to our elected officials to do the work for us, because that's why they there. So the second ask is to be attentive to the next communication. We were thinking internally that the best idea right now is to definitely think about a press conference, Ms. Fusco. So we will definitely circle back to you, either Nancy Fry or myself, to see how we could put that together. I think that this is the moment where parents and students, community members, and advocates should be getting together to support our teachers and staff. And so we are definitely open to that, and make sure that we have a meeting soon. And the ask for that is that we have at least 5 people from your network to come and attend. 5 to 10 people that want to join. We will send an email again to all the board members and the superintendent to be here, and we will do this again and see if they want to listen. If they don't listen, then we will be going to their building and really, talk to them face to face and tell them that we have certain concerns and we want them to answer to us there. So that's it. I think this, as Ms. Fusco mentioned, was a great encounter and a great place to discuss and have conversations for sure about what's happening, but it is 11:10. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So again, everyone who attended today, thank you so much for being here, and stay tuned. There's more to come. This is the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for putting all this together.
Thanks.
Well,
Thank you all so much. Incredible
Good night.
meeting. Thank you, John. Good night. Ms. Fusco, stay
Thank
strong.
you, John.
Thank you, John. You did a great job.
Hey, Kathleen, how you doing?
Good.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.